Hi everybody, this is Greg here with another version of the poor man's version of After Effects Episode 3. Today we're going to make this cool circle wipe you see here, very trendy thing that's been going on for a few years now, with a shape layer that animates and kind of closes and it reveals some text, which is a nice little extra layer of detail for us. But let's jump right in and show you how you can be making this. So first thing we're going to do is make a new composition, circle, or something logical is always helpful to what you're doing. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to make a new shape layer. And it's kind of like drawing a mask, but without having to draw a mask. So you have nothing in your composition right now, and if you take your shape layer and draw it, you can see it's added. And now to make a perfect circle, hold down Shift as you're dragging and making it, and you can see we're getting a nice big circle here. And then you can let go, and we got a very beautiful shape here. But for the purpose of this, we're going to kill the fill. Up here, you got to click on where it said fill, and no, you say, I don't want that. It's not good for our purpose today. And the next step is we need to make the stroke much bigger so it looks like a full circle. So the stroke was right next to the fill, and we just drag it up until we don't see that black circle in the middle anymore. And let's scale it down because our screen's not up that high. And now that we have it looking good in the middle with no holes in it, let's go down ahead and twirl down our shape layer if we haven't already and hit add and do trim pass. And then once we do that, we twirl down trim pass. We're going to hit the stopwatch for end, come back to the beginning, and we're going to keyframe it as such. And now a real basic circle animation was made. And let's just tighten this up. If you see in the middle there, it's a little... see just a little bit of that detail. We don't want to see that it's, we're kind of cheaping the circle. So that's small enough for our, you know what, let's just tighten it up. We're here. We're supposed to do the work right the first time, right? And that's what I tell myself at least. All right, so that looks real good there. So we got it going. And the next step we're going to want to do is we need the circle to end. So we're going to come and keyframe the start here. And hit the stopwatch on it. It's at a 0%, and then we're going to bring it to 100%. And you'll see that it kind of closed our circle. So now this doesn't look great, but we're going to finesse this into something much better. So we're going to keep doing this circle animation here, and what we want to do first is let's just kind of get our easing on this. So we're going to select all our keyframes, keyframe assistant, and do easy ease. So we get these looking much better. Now we can drag this out and see how it looks. And we can see already our animation is improving. But what we want to do to really make this great is we're going to want to select both the keyframes here and go into our graph editor and pull the handles out towards each other. And this is going to give it a very fast in the beginning, slow in the middle type movement. So we see how quick that is. And my added sound effects make the movement even faster. It's actually Superman flew by my microphone to make that sound effect for me. He does that favor for everyone who asks. You just have to do him a favor one time in the future, and you never know what he's going to ask for. So keep that in mind if you need those the free Foley work from Superman. Let's trim this comp to 3 seconds as well. This is a very quick animation. And we'll see how good that's looking. Maybe we make it a little bit longer because we do want our text to be at least, slightly legible. Not all the way legible, but just long enough. So this one's going pretty good. It's moving real smooth. And, depending on how quick you need this, if you maybe just say we're doing a 3, 2, 1 countdown and want to do the old school circles, that would be a good idea. So that looks pretty good right now. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we want to add some text. So that way we can have something to reveal. So let's try. Cool. Now let's do all caps. This is very, very cool of us. And cool people use caps. That's what I'm told at least. Bottle caps, maybe they're playing Fallout. I don't know what your currency is. Prices and participation may vary is all I'm going to say. So we have this really cool text here, and we want to place it over our circle, maybe rotate it a little bit just to give it a little more, attitude, because this is a cool thing, and, we're saying something sarcastic. So, I'm not saying it sarcastic, but I guess this purple text is sarcastic. Next step is we're going to duplicate this shape layer down here because we're going to use the shape layer as our mat. So we're going to rename that mat so in the future we know what it is. We're going to change now the track mat over here on our cool circle bro, and we're going to tell it to be its mat. And now, woo, pretty cool. I thought it was a cool circle. Now we can see it revealing. And to get in that kind of what we had earlier to kind of get the little styling to it is we need a purple solid. So I already had the purple selected from earlier, which you could pick whip from the text you just did. Hit OK, or not pick whip, but use a little eyedropper on us. And bam, looking pretty cool. Nice little shades of purple we have here, a dark purple font, purple background. And now let's really start to throw in some details here. Something we could do is pre-comp all of these things we just made, and we're going to call it circle text. And let's just say we took it and pushed it up a tiny little bit, and then we added a new solid by doing Apple Y. We're going to make it black. And we're going to put it underneath our text but above our background layer, and take a circle mask tool here and just draw a little one on it. And kind of get this oval going on here. So that way you can create a fake shadow. We're going to feather out the shadow. It's looking good. It's a little dark. I don't think a 1 pixel deep circle has that much weight, so we don't really need to do that much. And what we could even do is in the beginning, since this thing is the circle we made is not completely animated, we can move a little keyframe opacity here is what we could do. So now it kind of comes on. Maybe that's not so great. You kind of have to work through these things. And now we could keyframe it down too. Now we'll get a little complementary movement going on here, of the thing doing. And if you really wanted to get detailed here, we could animate the mask to go from right to left or vice versa, depending on how it looks. And then that actually not fast enough here. Bring the keyframe speed up some. Even then, I feel like we're a little behind this animation for how it should feel versus how it's moving. So that's looking pretty good already. So what we can keep doing here to add more detail is, let's try to add a drop shadow. Now, you're thinking drop shadow. No, we have a shadow below it. Clearly, it's an object in the 3D scene. But as you can see, it kind of defaults by itself on a scale like this. Now with our scene already set a little with a shadow below it, you start to believe that, hey, this is pushed a little bit back. And to sell that more, we're going to take this and put it up to 100%. Maybe we make a little bit of the purple in the shadow. So we're going to drop it and select it, but then bring it down to a real rich dark one like this. Really match it in. And maybe play with the angle because the lights are coming from a different area. That's cool because now we can kind of see inside like a cheese wheel, and maybe just like a 1 on the softness. Or maybe even bring it down. Yeah, I think it looks better as a little thicker. And then we could we don't want to go too far away because then you can tell that, hey, that's not real 3D. We're going to keep building the scene, trying to add more detail to it. Now that we have the initial principles down, we're going to keep trying to add more finesse. And the next step I would really say is let's add a gradient ramp to our purple background. Flat is very nice, and flat does work for most of the time, but adding even just say 5 or 10% gradient adds a real touch to it. So what we want to do though is, I like the purple background we already established, so I want to use that. So I'm going to use the dropper to go select it and get the other one. Now it's back to being flat. So we got to change this to a radial ramp, and we want to see what we're doing here. So we're going to take these colors. So what we actually want to do, since we can see the darker colors up top, and we want the lighter color up top or in the middle, we're going to swap the colors, which has been a very handy feature now. And you can see it already looks more dynamic. We've hardly done any work, and now the scene, while still flat, you can't really pick out where it turns from light purple to dark purple. Looks like, hey, there's a light in this scene now, and we know there's not a light. It's just a trick to our eyes here. So we're going to pull. Let's not pull down the whole layer. Make sure we're still in our on our background layer selected, and we're going to take this little center tool here, and we're going to put it right in the middle. It's not real great, but if we drag out the other point of interest, which is where the colors, kind of the gradient starts and stops, we can see how smooth this looks now. And just in case there's any banding issues throughout here, if you take the ramp scatter and turn it up, we'll just kind of guarantee we're not going to do that. And we can see how cool this looks now. It looks really nice. Really coming along, and it's not a lot of work so far. And we could even do something like this. Let's say we took the shadow, and we're going to parent it up to our circle text here, and rotate this circle. And now, hey, here's another tip you can do. When you have this interaction with 3D layers, we can do a adjustment layer, and you can put it between the objects, and it will stop interfering with them. So you can see it's still interfering with it if we were to change it in the custom view, but now it doesn't have to. We don't have to change anything. Another option, since we don't need these layers to be 3D, at least the purple one, is we can just un-3D it and get rid of that adjustment layer, keep our comp a little cleaner. And let's see, we could even maybe rotate this at a better angle, a more extreme angle. That looks really nice. So we have a lot of work and a lot of detail in here and not a lot of time. So we're able to learn how to do a circle, apply it to a mat, and then add some finesse like a shadow and a radial ramp in the background to sell this home. So you can see how in such a short amount of time we're able to make a very clean looking scene with these shape layers that use mats for each other and blend some colors on each other and use shadows to create the illusion of a more 3D scene. I hope you learned something. I hope you had a good time doing this. We have 2 more before this, and we're going to have more coming your way soon. Thanks for tuning into the Poor Man's Version. I'm Greg, and we'll see you soon.